Hi there, caregivers. My name is Pat Snyder. I'm a dementia caregiver, educator, and advocate, and I'm just delighted to be able to talk to you today. Before I start my particular lesson, I want to say thank you. Thank you for what you are doing. You guys are my heroes. It doesn't matter if nobody sees what you do day in and day out. It's important and it matters. This is a very important time and season in your life. And I hope that you will embrace it as such and recognize the importance of what you're doing. So let's talk today about building your team and being the coach of that team. So who should be on the team? First of all, obviously, the right doctors, but not too many of them. In my particular caregiver journey, I was able to simplify this to the LBD specialist and our primary care doctor, both of whom trusted me as that caregiver. I spent quite a bit of energy building a relationship with both those people so that we viewed each other as colleagues on this journey. The primary care doctor didn't know that much about Lewy body dementia, which is what my husband had, but she knew that I was doing my homework. And she trusted me when I asked good questions, when I made suggestions about, might this work? Is this a good idea? Is this not as good an idea? Can you help me in this way with maybe a prescription that I could already have because we know this is likely to happen on a weekend? Things like that made a huge difference for us. It was a very trusting relationship, even though she didn't know the disease that well. She was willing to learn about it, and she was willing to learn and listen to me. And as LBD caregivers, we are often in the position of having to do a lot of homework because a lot of physicians don't know. So it's important to have a doctor who has that level of wisdom and humility, who's willing to learn from you as you learn. The other person on the team, if you can possibly find it, should be an LBD specialist who really does understand clinically how to treat this disease, how to address the wide variety of things that may come up with medicines that are more likely than not going to help. We know that there is hypersensitivity to medication with Lewy body dementia, and we know everything is not going to work for everybody. One of the mottos we always say in my dementia caregiver class is, if you've seen one LBD patient, you've seen one LBD patient. The same holds true for all the dementias we have found in teaching this class over the years. If you've seen one, you've seen one. So just because a medication worked with someone else doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work or work in the same way with your loved one, and vice versa. If it didn't work for them doesn't mean it's not going to work for you. And so having someone who is an LBD specialist who is willing also, if they don't already know, some neurologists may not already know about LBD, but they're willing to dig in and really learn the details. And this particular conference, one of the richest moments in this conference is that video offered by Dr. Bradley Bove, who is considered among the very best in the world, on how to treat the various symptoms. And that, watching that 20-minute video alone will give you as a caregiver so much more information to be able to take with you. Copying that chart at the end of that video will give you tools to use where you can go in and help educate maybe the primary care doctor that doesn't already know as much as you wish they did. So choose the right doctors who have the right attitude and or the right expertise. But try to limit the number of doctors, because when too many specialists become involved, it's so easy with Lewy body dementia especially to make mistakes, because the view of that particular specialist might be narrow in terms of addressing symptoms, and that narrowness could backfire for you. So try to keep the number of doctors as low as you can. Here again, the mantra, simplify, 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 is going to work when you're choosing the right doctors. Okay, what about some of those other non-memory symptoms that we're talking about today? Therapists, such as speech therapists. You don't think about speech therapy with dementia, really? Well, yes, It's going to probably come up. It may be softness of voice, softness of speech. It may be the ability to even initiate speech. It may be a muscular problem with swallowing. So a speech therapist can give a surprising amount of help at various points in your journey. So considering a speech therapist, a physical therapist for the movement issues with Lewy body dementia in particular, and with later dementias also, could be helpful if your loved one is able to follow the directions. You may have to be the one who keeps initiating things if initiation is a problem for your loved one. An occupational therapist may be able to come into your home or give you all kinds of pointers for things you can do to modify your home to make it an easier and a healthier and a safer place for both of you to live. And all kinds of other kinds of techniques that an occupational therapist and a physical therapist can offer to you in that regard. Even moving them from place to place. Those kinds of things that are really important for you to know as a caregiver. I found that a massage therapist in our journey was particularly helpful for my husband. He had muscle spasms and cramps, which does happen with a lot of LBD patients. And the massage therapist just came in and he would light up when he saw her coming because he knew that he was going to be able to really relax and have some comfort in those leg muscles that were giving him a fit, and the arm muscles and the hand muscles. She was able to help him a lot with that. So you may not have considered how important that might be, and some of them will actually come into your home and offer those services. So various therapists can be a part of your team at various points in the journey and make a real difference for you. One person that was very important, or a team of people actually, were at our local pharmacy. And they are people that you don't have to have an appointment with. You can just walk right up and ask your questions, especially for things like medical interactions. What they know who the best doctors in town are, and they talk a lot with people about different medications, and so they're going to have some wisdom to be able to share with you, that particularly having to do with medication, that and they're so available, but that wisdom that is more available is so valuable to you at various points. So try to develop a relationship with the pharmacist and make that person or group of people a part of your team. One of the most important people on our team in our journey for John and me was our counselor. And I write about this in my book. It takes up almost half of the book. It actually, John said, gave that relationship and that going to that counselor, John said, gave him clarity. And this was in the middle of the dementia journey. Think about that. That's powerful. A counselor gave him clarity. And John said he helped me almost as much as Dr. Coffer, who was John's neurologist. And I was shocked by that statement. The counselor helped me immensely in from the day we started going, in terms of communication, in terms of perspective, in terms of being able to stay focused on the moment, that ability to be able to calm myself down, to recognize when I needed to do that. And he helped me all the way through with the grief process after John passed away. So a counselor is hugely important member of the team that I hope you will consider, at least for yourself. Your loved one may or may not be able to benefit, but you most definitely should be able to benefit from that kind of person on your team. Now, who are some other people? There's the social network group, family members, neighbors, friends, your church. Family, some of them are likely to disappoint you. This is very, very common. It's quite unusual for everybody in the family to show up and do things very, very well and make it easier on you. It does happen. And if that's you, you are truly blessed. But for many people, there are going to be people that in the family who disappoint you and surprise you. And those people, I hope, here again, in my book, I have a chapter on this. And I hope that you will be able to cope with those people by just letting them go for a season. Let them go for a season. And doesn't mean you're breaking the relationship. It's just in your own heart and mind, you're releasing them, and you're releasing your obligation to spend a lot of emotional energy and time with those people. And try to focus on the people who are showing up. And sometimes neighbors can be really, really helpful. You will find out who your true friends are. They will be the people who show up. They will be the people who stick with you, who make those frequent phone calls, who bring things over, who just ask you out for a cup of coffee or to go get some ice cream or just to get away. They are very, very, very valuable to you on this journey. For some people, the church just is a wonderful resource. For other people, we have to be honest, some churches basically don't get it done, and they don't show up the way they should. Now, be sure that that's not because you're holding back in terms of what's going on. If you can find trusted people in your church and share with them, and actually ask people to join your team. This is a time when you've got to kind of get over yourself, and you've got to say, I need help, because you do. It's just the way it is. We need help when we're in the middle of doing this. We should never try to do it alone. It's not a solo sport. It's a team sport. So welcome those people, family, neighbors, friends, church. Let them know. When they ask you, oh, if there's ever anything I can do, have a little list ready. And whip out that list, either physically or in your own head, and say, oh, well, yes, it would be wonderful if the church could, like once a week, if somebody in the church could just bring over dinner. That would help me so much. Give them a way to help you. Ask for help. This is an appropriate time in your life to ask for help, because when this is over, you're going to be available to give that help to other people, hopefully. And so it's your turn. Take your turn. That's okay. One of the other people on your team that you may not have considered is a handyman. For those of you, a lot of women are caregiving for their spouses or the parent, and they're going to need somebody to climb up and change that light bulb, to change the filters, to get this little thing done and this little thing repaired. A handyman is a huge resource for you. Certainly was for me. Don't know what I would have done without my handyman. And somebody you can call, somebody you can trust, and who takes care of those things, because you just can't do everything yourself anymore. And that's okay. You may need to have somebody come and clean your house if you can afford to do that. Or that's a place where a friend, a family member, someone at church could offer that to you every now and then, even if it's just once a month. Somebody coming over, or a team of people coming over, and just kind of straightening up for you. That's okay. This is a time when that works. I think you're going to find that it's a blessing for them as well as for you. The other group that you may want to tie into and have join your team are support groups. Let's talk about those. There's a pretty wide variety. Here in North Carolina, there is the Wake Forest Dementia Caregiver class, and this is my email address. I have neglected to mention that there in the Raleigh area, there is an LBD specific group run by Lori Idle, and I'm hoping that the people can provide that information for you who can add to what I have here, and give her contact information as well. She's been running that group for over 10 years and does a fantastic job. The Wake Forest Dementia Caregiver class is a hybrid. It's a support group / class, because there's always an educational piece. There's always something in our meetings where we are adding to the wealth of knowledge that you need to have as a caregiver, in addition to the traditional support groups type of support. If you are the spouse of a person with Lewy body dementia, LBD Caring Spouses Group has been in operation online in email format since 2002. So 20 years plus here for the LBD Caring Spouses. Here again, if you will just copy this link, you can join. You can also send me an email and tell me you want to join, and I can plug you in. I'm one of the moderators of that group as well. If you can get on Facebook, I do not recommend some Facebook groups. They can get a little crazy. But the ones run by the Lewy Body Dementia Association, called Lewy Body Dementia Care Partners, Living with Lewy Body Dementia, and Living Together with Lewy. These are 3 support groups that are very well moderated and would help you specifically if your loved one is dealing with Lewy body dementia. I do recommend those groups to you. The LBD Resource Center, which is based in New York, is also another good source of information. And of course, NorthCarolinaDementia.org is Dementia Alliance of North Carolina, and they have wonderful resources also on their website, and you can reach them by telephone if you go to this address. There are free senior services available that will help you with put together a better care team. Local support groups, classes, and virtual groups, which I talked about. Online support groups, which I've talked about. You can YouTube help. There's a YouTube channel which I have that it will be helpful to you. And if you want to find that, that is basically just put in Lewy body dementia, Pat Snyder, and it'll take you right there. And I think I have another link for you in just a little bit on the next slide. Conferences are sometimes free or very low cost. Dementia Alliance of North Carolina and LBDA, I have mentioned, are very good resources for free services. The Area Agency on Aging, there is one of those spread all over the country, all over the place, and they are a resource for you locally. And there's Project Care Respite Services, which I wanted to share for those of you here in North Carolina. These are the links, and if you are watching this online, you can just take a screenshot and get in touch with these people. They actually provide free respite care so that you can get away for a period of time and just take a break from caregiving, which is very important for you to do. Paid senior services such as the Aging Care Manager, which I did not know what one of those was until a few years ago, but they basically learn all those resources that are available to you in your community, and you do have to pay them, but you are their client, and so that means they can tell you which are the places to avoid as well as which are the better places to consider when you are choosing different services in your community. And they will go, some of them will go with you to even doctor visits. They will help you out. They are wonderful, wonderful individuals, and those services are going to vary from service to service, but they can be quite an asset to you. And if you are taking care of a loved one who lives somewhere else, you should also look into the Aging Care Manager. Sometimes they're called Senior Care Managers. They have various names. Other senior service companies like Always Best Care, Seniors Helping Seniors, or other paid services where, here again, they are well versed in what is available. They can offer services in your home where people can come and stay for various levels of care and various periods of time. A continuing care retirement community is going to offer a place for you to live, independent living, or early on in the disease process, or even before the disease process. You can go and live there independently, and then eventually you can get assisted living and then even memory care if you need a higher level of care over time. And you're right there with your loved one and close by. Adult daycares are paid senior services that some caregivers find to be very, very useful. I certainly used this for a period of time in the community where we lived, and I found it to be very helpful. It gave me some time away where I could take some deep breaths, I could rest, I could get some things done that I needed to get done. Some conferences are going to be paid. Some of them can be a little bit expensive, but you have to decide if they may be ones that would be worth your while. And then, of course, care facilities are going to be varied in your community. And if you're not using someone like an aging care manager or the senior service companies, you may want to consider looking yourself. For the state of North Carolina, here are some sites where you can go and just dig a little bit yourself and find out what's going on in all the facilities that are listed in the state. and I'm sure each state has these for their state, if you can go online and hunt for those. This is just an easy way for those of you here in North Carolina to be able to find this. If you want to take a screenshot and you can just go back and refer to it and be able to find what you need. I want to remind you that dementia caregiving is not a solo sport. It is a team sport, and you are the coach of that team. Thank you again for what you do.